Hi everybody and welcome to UC Views, where I'll tell you about football, general sport and the football over the weekend, and I'll tell you the opinions that the media are too scared to say. Right, first up, we had Arsenal 1, Brighton 1. Kai Havertz, he's like a giraffe up front. What was that? He cost us in excess of £90 million, and I'll tell you why. Because last season, he was signed as a left 8 for £65 million and £275 a week, and he was so bad he couldn't even play there, so he was moved to number 9. And now we have to sign Mikel Merino, who's already injured this year. So now he's cost us £90 million overall. So just terrible. Then you had Gabriel Martinelli, who didn't even play, but if you want to know my opinions on him, I've never rated him. Head down player, can take on a fullback, but what is his output? Nowhere near the level of Saka. And Gabriel, what were you doing? Getting bodied by a guy who's like half the size of you on that conceded goal. What was that? But let's go to the controversial point of the game. The refereeing decision. That is one of the worst decisions I've ever seen in the history of football. Every referee should use their common sense. Yes, the rule is that if a player kicks the ball away, it's a yellow card. Look at João Pedro in the first half. Just kicks the ball away, no yellow card. This is why we need some consistency in football. But there's no consistency. 1 week, one thing's one rule. Next week, the rules changed. What is this? So what was that decision? Use your common sense. He literally put the ball next to Declan Rice, kicked the ball through him, and the natural instinct when the ball comes to your foot is to tap it almost. He tapped it maybe half a centimetre away, and he gave him another yellow card, just ruining the flow of the game and ruining the game overall. And then Kai Havertz, again, let's come back to him. Towards the second half, 1-1 on the break, does the hard part, does the right touch, is in one-on-one, and he misses again. This is why we needed a killer up front, and this is why I'm going to go to the transfer window we had. We literally had the priorities of our window all wrong. We had a strong defence. Yes, you need to add to it to have squad depth. But our main point to address was the attack. And we bought Raheem Sterling on loan. Raheem Sterling is the age of like 34 in terms of football. The guy started his career at Liverpool at 17, 18. So his football, he is 29, but his body is actually the age of 33. So he's slow, he's overweight, and Mikel Arteta is dreaming if he thinks he's going to get 2019 Raheem Sterling back. And even in that sense, he played for Man City where he had chance after chance after chance. Put him in a team like Chelsea where he doesn't get that, and you saw the terrible output he had. So a terrible signing on loan. And this is what the football club do. They signed Raheem Sterling on loan on the last day. So you're happy with the look what City did. They won the Premier League. They didn't win the Champions League. They signed Erling Haaland, who is the best striker on the planet right now, scoring back-to-back hat-tricks in the last 2 weeks of football. Whereas what did we do? Raheem Sterling on loan. Terrible signing. And yeah, just nothing to say. We dropped points already, and people will say, oh, it's only early in the season, but these points add up at the end. You saw Fulham last year basically cost us the league towards the end of the season, so people will say it's only 3 games in, but these are the type of games that cost you at the end of the day. Moving on to the big game of the weekend, Man United versus Liverpool. Embarrassing, 3-0 to Liverpool. And first of all, I want to give credit to Liverpool. Arne Slot. First of all, people don't like to talk about Liverpool's owners, the FSG, but they've literally given the guy no backing. I know he had a good squad with Jurgen Klopp, but they've literally signed Mamardashvili, who's gone back on loan to Valencia, and Chiesa, who didn't even play in this game. But what he's done with that team is incredible. He's bowled from the Netherlands, but Man United thought they must have gotten Arne Slot because he is the real bold Netherlands good manager. Because he has shown that he has implemented a style of play within 3 games that Ten Hag hasn't in 3 years. I saw a graphic on Sky Sports of his signings, right? There must have been about 9 misses, and not one of them was hit. Anthony is the worst winger I've ever seen in my life. I'm not even joking. Good style of play, and also the way he's implemented Ryan Gravenberch into the 6. He's not a natural 6, but the way he's got him playing his best football is incredible. And Mo Salah, I'm not the biggest Mohamed Salah fan in the world, I'll be honest, but the guy's output's ridiculous. They should rename Old Trafford Mo Salah Stadium because the guy scores every week against them. Any year they're playing Man United, no matter how bad Liverpool are, he'll always drop some goals on them. Every time. And Casemiro, do we even talk about the guy? He's basically retired playing football. The first goal, he literally just passed the ball. He didn't even look up. He just passed it straight to Liverpool on the counter-attack, and then they conceded. And the second goal, I would like to say someone blew breath at him and he fell over. Literally, Ryan Gravenberch tapped him on the shoulder. He fell over and they conceded again. And the third goal, Kobbie Mainoo gets bodied off the ball, but I'm not going to hold it against him because he's an 18-year-old. Casemiro is 32. He's an experienced 5-time Champions League winner, and just terrible performance. But then again, it is what it is. And also, I'm going to talk about the media now. The agenda they have against foreign players is incredible. If Marcus Rashford was from anywhere but had a British passport, they would jump on him for that performance and for his performances for the whole part of last year and the start of this year. He had that one good season, right? He scored 30 and they gave him a 300 grand a week contract. This year, he put in 2 good crosses the whole game. Is that what we're paying 300 grand a week for now? Is 2 good crosses in the whole span of 90 minutes. Brighton, terrible, didn't take his fullback on at all. Maybe the injuries have taken toll on him. He's 26 now, maybe he's lost that yard of pace he used to have when he was younger. But think about it, what shows his drop off is he's against Trent Alexander-Arnold. Trent Alexander-Arnold is so good going forward, but every winger knows, and every fan in football knows, Trent Alexander-Arnold is not the best defensive right back in the world. He's very poor actually. But when you can't even get past Trent, that shows how poor you've been playing. And overall, just terrible from Ten Hag. And then he comes out with these media answers, and he comes out with delusion. Oh, we've won the most trophies after Man City. Yes, that's true. But would you rather be second in the league, closer challenging, or win an FA Cup but be 8th and have your worst finish in basically ever? So what is the point? And then, for the first 2 games of the season, he did change it this game, but he started Maguire the last 2 games. I know it's not relevant to the Liverpool game, but now he brings in Matthijs de Ligt for Liverpool, who are a great side. But then he doesn't give him game time the week prior to get him some experience in the Man United team. Joshua Zirkzee, he missed a few chances, but he's young and he's inexperienced and he's only just joined, so you have to give him time to become that striker that United need him to be. And his team selection, Amad Diallo has been the best United winger from the start of this season and in pre-season. What does he do? Because of this Marcus Rashford agenda, United should be renamed Marcus Rashford FC, because he has to start every single game. He never gets substituted. He didn't even get substituted this game. He subbed off Garnacho, and you saw the boos around Old Trafford because they knew Marcus Rashford had been substituted after that performance. So overall, just Marcus Rashford, it's just favouritism overall. Amad Diallo should have been playing on the right hand side and Alejandro Garnacho should have been playing on the left hand side, and that's what the team should have been. But then again, favouritism rules again, and these results will continue happening. You need Ugarte to come in for Casemiro, but then again that's poor planning because you signed Ugarte towards the end of the window where you had this game already coming up. So Ugarte's not going to be ready for this game. He's not going to be ready for this game for Liverpool. You needed him to be in for pre-season. He's had no pre-season with PSG, so he wasn't ready for this game. And then you had an old Casemiro and you expect him to go against Liverpool's midfield, and obviously he was going to struggle. So overall, just a terrible performance for Man United. They need to turn it around, but we'll see if Ten Hag lasts till Christmas. That's the big point now. We'll see if he lasts. But then again, you'll see Gary Neville, you saw him backing Ten Hag up with Jamie Carragher. And I understand both point of views. Jamie Carragher was saying, it's like they went around looking for a new manager and then they stuck with Ten Hag. It's like if you wanted to replace him, just replace him. It's like Bayern Munich wanted to replace Thomas Tuchel. Again, they got Vincent Kompany, who wasn't their first choice. But if you want to replace a manager, it's almost never going to work when you keep him in the end because you never really wanted him. So they should have moved on, in my opinion. And then Gary Neville, I get why he backs his club and I respect it. But overall, yeah, just the media with their biases again. But I will respect Michael Richards for calling out the terrible officiating in the Arsenal game. But overall, poor performance from Man United. Arsenal dropped points already this week, so they're going to need to step it up in the future. And hopefully January, maybe they can make some good signings. But January is hard to get top players from the clubs halfway through the season. But we'll see how that develops. Next week they've got Southampton, Barnsley and Crystal Palace, right? So Southampton next, that should be 3 points. If they don't get 3 points here, if they lose, you may see Ten Hag getting sacked by the time he leaves the ground. Because if you don't win against Tottenham, that's 3 losses in a row. So it's going to be terrible. Then you've got Barnsley next, should be a win, but you never know because they almost lost to Coventry last year in the FA Cup semi-final. That almost saved his job because that goal should maybe have been onside. And if that goal goes in, they don't win the FA Cup, which was what he's lent on to get him to stay in the job for this season because he had a terrible league performance. Then Crystal Palace next, that'll be a tough fixture. They just gave Chelsea a good game. Maybe not a good game, but Eze, they've got special players like Arabici Eze who can produce moments to get them back in the game. So that's going to be another tough game. And then you've got the Europa League coming up. Hopefully they can get to the knockouts for that. Hopefully, because the more Ten Hag stays, the better it'll be for us rival fans to watch the downfall of Manchester United. Tottenham, I think might actually be a game where they thrive in because Tottenham, as we know with Ange Postecoglou's style of play, he likes to come forward, be aggressive, and come forward at teams, which obviously leaves them exposed to the counter attack, which is where United almost thrive under Ten Hag, which is Rashford pacing behind, Garnacho pacing behind. So almost against Tottenham, they're probably maybe better. but we'll just see. Right, and we're on to another segment called Overrated Player of the Weekend. The most overrated player of the weekend is going to be from the past, the present, whatever I believe. And I'll tell you, the most overrated player in the world is Alan Shearer. Alan Shearer, right, he was a good striker, don't get me wrong. He played for my hometown, Blackburn Rovers. But Alan Shearer scored a good amount of goals. He went to Newcastle, won absolutely nothing, had some good seasons, but then the Newcastle fans will say he had some career-threatening injuries and came back. So what? How many? R9 had so many career-threatening injuries, came back and won the 2002 World Cup as the top scorer and the Ballon d'Or. So career-threatening injuries, everyone has career-threatening injuries. You've got to get over it. And Alan Shearer, he doesn't have a good first touch. He can't dribble. He can't pass. He's a good in-the-box striker. But was he ever the best striker in the world? No. R9 was clear of him. Zinedine Zidane, clear of him. Van Basten, clear of him. Is he even the top 10 greatest striker ever? No. Lewandowski, Suarez, Van Basten, Harry Kane even. Alan Shearer should not be talked about when it comes to the greatest striker to ever play the game. He was just a good Premier League striker. And that record that he has that he's living off, which is the highest Premier League goal scorer of all time, Erling Haaland is going to smash through that if he stays in Man City for the next few years. And also, you're expected to have that record when you play about 460,000 games in the league. So it's a good goal record, but eventually he's going to get surpassed. And then who's going to remember Alan Shearer in the future? No one. And if you see this on his podcast, I stand by it. He can say what he wants. But Alan Shearer, you're overrated.